a great pleasure and honor for me to participate in today's event. So let me start by quoting first woman who was Indian president of the General Assembly. The more we sweat in peace, the less we bleed in war. So Ukraine is the country which is mostly interested in achieving peace, just, long-lasting, comprehensive. This war is not about Ukraine. That's why it is also global interest to achieve just, comprehensive, long-lasting peace. Yes, after Jeddah, we got another speed, new additional opportunities to end this war this year. And we are ready for this. We are not the obstacle to achieve peace. Let's see what will be the response from Russian side to settle ceasefire. Ukraine supported US proposal about ceasefire, temporary ceasefire for 30 days, because it is very important not to have this perception of frozen conflict. We are talking about ceasefire, which definitely make our peace efforts much more effective. And of course, we need confidence building measures. So once again, this meeting in Jeddah between Ukrainian and US delegations sped up the process. And if we are talking about Ukrainian side, we are ready to start to implement the outcomes of Jeddah meetings. We do really expect, and here we need joint efforts and joint support, strong international support. We do really expect from Russian side unconditional yes for ceasefire. You know that probably today, according to the public statements, we could expect telephone conversation between President Trump and President Putin. So we do really hope that we will get more clear situation after this conversation. Returning back to our position, and we shared with this position with our American friends, with our allies in Europe. So nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, nothing about Europe without Europe. No compromises at the cost of Ukrainian territorial integrity and sovereignty. No restrictions to our military capacities, and no third country has a right to block our will or our way to participate in any union, in any alliances. That's our principal positions. And of course, we will never recognize any part of territories occupied by Russians. I would like to remind that at this stage, under Russia occupation, approximately about 20% of our territories. And also it is truth that Russia didn't manage to achieve any strategic goal in Ukraine. They didn't achieve any strategic goal. Yes, they have now some advances at the battlefield because of different reasons, but strategically, situation is under control. Our approach now is a time for diplomacy, for a strong diplomacy. We also do really believe that with the leadership of President Trump we could achieve long-lasting, just peace. And it is crucial, it is really very important not to manipulate with this term, just long-lasting peace for Ukraine. And we count on the support of international community because it is about principles, it is about the respect of principle of territorial integrity and sovereignty, UN Charter, chapter, and about it is also about the restoration of world order based on rule of law. So about Ukrainian mineral resources and our possible agreement with the United States, we are ready to sign such type of an agreement. We are open. We conducted several rounds of negotiations, and the framework agreement is ready for signature. By the way, in Jeddah, we proposed American side to sign this agreement. We do really need a serious presence of American business in Ukraine. So it is mutually beneficial, and we do really hope that we will proceed on this direction. Also, I would like to answer to another question from Germany journalist with regard of Russian conditions. So you see, I remember very well first approach of Russian side immediately after this brutal Russian aggression started. It was not a proposal. It was a demand to capitulate. It was the language of ultimatums. Unfortunately, they didn't change this approach. They do not want to recognize Ukraine as an independent state. They want to ruin our statehood. So this proposal of full ceasefire is a real global test for Russia to demonstrate who really wants peace and who really wants to continue this war. Russia wants to continue this war.
First of all, I'd like to express my appreciation to the organizers to invite me again. Thank you, Jai, for hosting us here in wonderful Delhi, and I was very happy to listen to the Director General of the Hungarian Institute for Foreign Affairs just before this panel, announcing a wide-ranging cooperation among the organizers of the Raisina Dialogue and the Hungarian Institute for Foreign Affairs. We are very happy to witness that. Well, you say that we are more popular outside of Europe than in Europe. You're right. But if you say no to war, no to migration, and no to gender propaganda, then this is your destiny. No war, no migration, no gender has been the essence of our strategy for the last 15 years. Why I say 15? Because we have been in office for 15 years now, winning 4 consecutive elections with 2/3 majority, which shows that it makes sense to perform up to the expectation of your electorate. And I have to tell you that this situation that we are more popular outside of Europe than Europe is partly caused by the fact that we used to be Trump well before Trump as well. So our political strategy aiming at stopping illegal migration, saying no to the aggressive gender propaganda, to understand that a human being can either be a man or a woman, and especially opting for peace from the very beginning of this tragic war in our neighborhood has put us in a situation in Europe where we had to be confronted with political and financial attacks continuously. I might even say that if you carry out a conservative, patriotic, right-wing political strategy with success, it cannot be digested by the liberal mainstream. And liberal mainstream does definitely rule still in Brussels unlike in Washington for the last couple weeks or months. When it comes to this tragic war in our neighborhood, our position has always been the same as it is now. 2 or 3 days after this war had been launched, I called Foreign Minister Lavrov and I called the head of the Ukrainian presidential administration, Mr. Yermak, and I told them, look, if you want to agree on conditions to peace, which we would really love to see you do so, Hungary is at your disposal. Come whenever you want to. We offer you fair circumstances, safe, comfortable, level playing fields. And I do hope that once you will take advantage of this offer and once you will negotiate about peace. We are the only country in NATO which did not deliver weapons to Ukraine. We are a country which has been carrying out its largest humanitarian operation ever since this war has been started, receiving 1.4 million refugees in Hungary, in a country with less than 10 million inhabitants. Being the #1 import source of Ukraine for electricity last year and this year as well, and being the #1 gas source for Ukraine in February. But we have been under continuous attacks, political and financial, for the last 3 years because of this position of ours. Our position was always that we need peace, we need a ceasefire, and we need peace negotiations. My Prime Minister has launched a peace mission during our presidency of the European Union last year. You might have realized that. Visiting Kiev, Moscow, Beijing, and meeting that time presidential candidate Donald Trump in Florida. After this, he has submitted a report to the European Council, putting forward a proposal for ceasefire and peace talks to be started. You cannot imagine the range and intensity of political attacks we have received for this position of ours. So I have to tell you, I'm happy that nowadays we speak about ceasefire in a positive context. And I hope ceasefire would come. If those who have attacked us at that time had supported ceasefire at that time as well, much less people would have been killed, much less destruction would have taken place, and less Ukrainian territories would be under occupation currently. I wish European community had supported ceasefire at that time as well, instead of attacking us. We have always represented the position that a US-Russia agreement must be made in order to have a more peaceful future in Europe. And we are very happy that these talks have been started. We were happy to see the talks in Saudi Arabia between US and Russia, between US and Ukraine. And we do attach great hopes to these meetings, and we do hope that a ceasefire can be established as soon as possible and peace negotiations could be started as soon as possible. Because we want peace to come back to Central Europe. We have been living in the shadow and the neighborhood of this war. We have been confronted with the consequences pretty thoroughly. And we know that the Central European region and entire Europe needs peace to come back. And I hope that with President Trump being elected in US, with President Trump being committed to peace, in a couple of weeks we can celebrate peace returning to Central Europe. As well into this panel, we do hope that with the Western world receiving a new leader, common sense, rationality, normality, and mutual respect will return to international politics. In recent years, hypocrisy, judging, lecturing each other, and especially those who did not belong to the mainstream, was overruling the international political landscape. And such a phenomenon can end up in tragic consequences. Therefore, we do hope that from now on, the international relations will be based on mutual respect. And if this is the case, then we have a hope for a brighter future. There were too many attempts recently aiming at interfering into domestic issues of other countries, like in our case. During the last parliament elections in Hungary, tens of millions of dollars have been invested in order to support our opposition, which is now screaming for President Trump's decision to cut the USAID sources. So if mutual respect can return and replace judging, lecturing, and cornering each other, then we might have a better hope for a more peaceful future on the international political scene. We hope that this is going to be the case.